Percy Jackson and the Olympians, episodes 5 and 6. This is our obviously we did the first 4 episodes in our last video. And unfortunately, due to some internet issues and other unforeseen events, Iskuzel and Schultz are not able to be with us today. So I've got our guest TMR on to discuss with me. He's a big Percy Jackson fan as well. So we're going to talk through these last 2 episodes and give our first reactions on that. Um, but I wanted to take just a second before we jump in to just for the people watching. Thank y'all for our last Percy Jackson video. It was the most views we've ever had on a video and the most interaction we gotten through the comments. So thank y'all for doing that. And if you enjoy what we do here and you really enjoy the content we're pumping out, give us a like, subscribe. That's going to help us the most. This is something we do in our spare time, and so when we get that support, we're able to really invest more time in getting this stuff out to y'all. So if you enjoy it, if you just mind just subscribing and giving us a like, giving us comments, interacting with us in the comments is a big way we can see how we can improve, how we can get more stuff out that y'all like, and just keep doing what we're doing. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into our views, episode 5 and 6. I know in terms of episode 5, this was a chapter in the book. One of my sort of favorite little side quests that happens in the chapter, and the episode is titled the same. It's called "A God Buys Us Cheeseburgers." It's the sequence in the book where they run into Ares, the god of war, and he basically tells them, "Hey, if you go retrieve my shield from this water park, this abandoned water park, then I'll give you basically transportation to get to Santa Monica Beach," which is where they were headed at the time. So they're kind of stranded. They need a place to go. So in a similar sense, the show picks up in that regard by our heroes are kind of just walking, or Percy, jumps out of the river in St. Louis after being thrown from the arch. That's how we ended episode 4, and so now we're at the point where they're on the road. They're looking for a quicker way to get across the country to get to where they need to go to complete their quest on time. So yeah, this was actually a section that did not appear in the movie at all.
Mhm.
Completely cut this out. Actually, they cut out the character of Ares entirely in the
Yeah.
movie, and he was replaced by Luke in the final battle at the end of the movie. So I was glad that they added it in, and I'd just be curious to see what your thoughts were on episode 5.
Well, just right out of the gate, not only did they include Ares as they should have, but I had to look up the actor's name because I had not really looked him up before. But Adam Copeland, I felt like did a fantastic job. Like he was really menacing, but also could be unintentionally funny, if you know what I mean. Like I just thought he was a very very good pick for Ares. And I don't remember. Um, I don't know if are we good to go into spoiler territory or just talking about it in general?
We're going to assume people watching this have seen
Okay,
the
sweet.
episodes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I don't remember. I don't think the whole conversation between Grover and Ares happened in the book. I don't remember.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't think so.
yeah.
Because I think me and you both have recently read the books, and I didn't remember that part, but I thought maybe I just skipped over it. But
Yeah,
I thought
they
that was
added that whole thing in because when they
yes,
go
yeah,
to retrieve the shield, Grover actually goes with them. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And so I thought it was a pretty funny addition. Like I didn't mind it. Um, but overall, as an episode, I thought that it was fairly accurate to the chapter for the most part. There were some little things that they added in. I still haven't really figured out why necessarily, like story wise. Um, I don't really know, but maybe you have some other ideas on where that is going.
So I'm gonna be the Darth Vader to your Anakin here, and
Okay.
get a little negative about this episode.
Okay.
This coming from, if you saw our previous reaction, we were very favorable towards the first 4 episodes. We very much enjoyed them. We liked the direction they're going. Like the fact that you know, for the most part, they are sticking with the plot of the book, unlike the movie.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be the one to say here with these last 2 episodes, I personally thought the show took a little bit of a step backwards
Mhm.
from the first 4, and I'll explain why. Um, Firstly, I agree with you to a certain extent that the casting of Ares and his look and everything I thought was good. The portrayal of the character, especially in the diner sequence with Grover, I thought was out of character for him in terms of the books.
That's
Because
fair.
in the books, uh, the way that Ares, when he his godlike attributes, the things that he uh, emanates whenever he's around other people. One of the things the book always makes clear is that whenever you're around him, you just feel angry, that you want to beat somebody up, that you want to fight
Yeah.
somebody. And, being the god of war, that's kind of what it is. But he also has Ares himself sort of exudes that sort of arrogant, sort of like that punk
Mhm.
personality where he's a punk. He's trying to, he sort of looks down his nose at you,
Yeah.
um, and he's sizing you up all the time. And so I feel like that's kind of missing from this portrayal. He seems almost too personable with them, like he's too friendly.
That's true.
In
Yeah.
reality, he's not as he's just not as sociable, I guess. He's more
Mhm.
aloof and more like he doesn't really give a crap one way or another what you think or your feelings or whatever. And
Yeah.
so that's why I feel like the whole sequence with him in the diner with Grover, and he's kind of acting sort of goofy, and he's like, you know, um, he's almost acting kind of doltish a little bit, like he's kind of clueless on some things, which as a god is
Yeah.
kind of, all the gods kind of have their different flaws and stuff in the book, but um, they always have this idea that regardless of how what flaws they have, they're still a lot smarter than you, the demigod.
Mhm.
So it's kind of um, or not necessarily a lot smarter, but they know a lot more. Like they have more knowledge, and
Yeah.
because they've been around for thousands of years. So I feel like they missed the mark with that in his character. Like I said, the look is fine, but I kind of wish they would have done the whole flaming eyes thing like he is in the book. He removes his
Mhm.
glasses and there's just
That
fire
would've been
where his
cool.
eyes are at. I can understand why they wouldn't do that, but I kind of wish just for the cool aspect of it they would have. But yeah, I personally don't think uh, they did the greatest job in terms of his character portrayal, in terms of the way he acted and the things he said. Um, that, in my opinion, and also the whole conversation with Grover. Grover to me is also acting very out of character
I agree. I do
because
agree with that for sure.
in this conversation we had in the last video is in the books, and look, I'm not trying to say that every single scene and every single person has to be exactly 100% like the book was. I
Mhm.
get that there's changes that are made, and that's fine. My point is, you can adjust certain things about a character, but the character still needs to be the essence of what the character is in the books.
Yeah.
And so I think what I get at with Grover is Grover's sort of the nervous, timid, um, always, very unsure of himself, doubting himself.
Mhm.
And it's always his friends that are, lifting him up. And then by the end of the book series, he's kind of changed into somebody that's, taking initiative, and he's going out and he's, recruiting other satyrs and different um, naiads and different things to help, in Pan's mission of restoring, the wilds to to what they were, and he's also got this underlying sort of bravery when it comes to his friends that when they're
Mm.
in danger, he immediately jumps in to help. And he's also got a certain amount of knowledge that they don't have because he's been around longer. He's probably anywhere from 10 to 12 years older than them. We know he's about 24
Yeah, I
when
think
the
he said he
lightning
was
thief
24.
happens. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually book accurate because I think in the books they say he's around 24 in the
yeah,
first book. So I think the issue is that he's acting demeanor wise. It's like he's never rattled. He's always calm, and I'm like,
yes,
that's not how Grover is at all in the
yeah.
books. He's like
That was
always
one. Yeah,
nervous and like every time they get into any kind of danger, he smells a monster. He's like, oh goodness, we're about to, he's and like I said, but when it comes to actually acting, he's brave and he's got that side of him. But it's like
yeah.
every other interaction, he's always really nervous. And so like when he's sitting in front of Ares and he's like talking to him all confident and stuff, and
He
I'm
was
just like,
very smug.
yeah, I don't see Grover in that. I see
Yeah,
a totally different character.
right.
And so that's my gripe with that, where I'm saying if the character ceases to feel like the character at all, that's where I tend to have a bit of a problem. Um, so I think that's to me where this episode struggles the most
Yeah,
is characters not acting like they should, like at all. And it's not, oh, they changed a little bit of the dialogue or something. No, it's like, hey, they're just not acting like the character's supposed to be.
that's true.
And then the other gripe I had with this show was they somehow make the water park sequence as boring as possible because in the book it's one of the kind of exciting little side quests,
Mhm.
very sort of action packed because they get there, they go to grab the shield, and we know from the books that Hephaestus, the god uh, of I don't know if it's god of machinery or fire or the exact uh, wording for that, but he
Mhm.
has set a trap for Ares and Aphrodite because Aphrodite is his wife. Ares and Aphrodite get together in behind his back, and that's sort of an ongoing thing. But he sets this trap, and so Ares sends Percy and Annabeth and Grover because he knows it's a trap and he wants them to do it. So in the book, when they grab the shield, it sets off the trap, and there's these like giant mechanical spiders that come out, and there's this big web that shoots over top of them and traps them in this you know this pool that's been drained of all its water. And Percy has to basically rescue everybody because Grover's stuck on the outside. Annabeth's scared of spiders, and so it's a really good scene of him using his ability to control water to some degree to use he pulls the water in, they float their way on one of the little boats and they have to leap over this one section, and it's very exciting while the machines are coming after them, and it's just kind of a fun sequence. And in the show they don't there's a trap, but it's like not a trap because they know when they sit in the chair
Yeah,
that it's a trap and you're going to get, and it just seems like they make it extremely boring when in the book it's very exciting and very
yeah,
tense, and it's got some really good character moments in it that I wish they had done. And I don't feel like it would have been too hard to do some like CGI mechanical spiders or something,
yeah. I was gonna say
considering the
I
budget for
don't
that
know if
show
they
is
just
probably in the north of 100 million or something.
yeah I don't know if they
Um,
just thought that that would be a little more than what they wanted to do. It did feel I did notice that it felt like they cut that corner a little bit. Um, and then I don't believe Hephaestus shows up.
no,
He was not there in the book.
he
Um,
doesn't show up at all, other than the little council scenes where Percy
right,
goes to the Olympus that one time and maybe one other time. I don't think he shows up until the Battle of the Labyrinth, which is the fourth book, in
right,
any
yeah,
like serious way. So,
yes, yep. And
um,
so I do like the act. I don't know if I necessarily like the actor for I don't know if I necessarily like him for Hephaestus, but I do like him as an actor. He was in Psych is another TV show that I really like. Um, and he's a really great character in that one. I feel like we haven't seen enough of him to really for me to really judge like, oh, I don't like him as Hephaestus, but um, yeah, it was kind of a weird. That was a weird change for them to just completely change that whole sequence.
Now I will give them credit. What I did like, it's still got a good character moment in that sequence with the chair because it still shows Percy's like they call it his fatal flaw in the
Yeah.
book. Annabeth says that she's prideful. She thinks she can make everything, fix everything, and make it better
Hmm.
through her architecture and things like that. And so Percy's his fatal flaw was always his loyalty to his friends and his family and everything. And so, but you get a really good character development in that scene in the book where he has to use his powers that he really isn't even sure how they work,
Right.
and he has to find a way to rescue his friends and get the shield and everything. And in this one, you get a similar sort of character moment where he's like, it's a self sacrifice where he's like, I'm going to sit in this chair knowing that Annabeth, you are more capable of completing this quest than I am, which is true. We
Yeah.
understand that. He may be the more powerful demigod of the two, but she obviously is more equipped from all her years of training and being, a daughter of Athena, and all those things. But I think that aspect of it is good. I just think the execution is ridiculously boring, and it
Yeah.
makes um, a really exciting, intense scene in the books really like not exciting at all.
Right.
I hate to be like super pessimistic because I have appreciated that they've stuck to the basic plot of the book and they haven't deviated from that too much. But I just found myself after really enjoying the first 4 episodes, just being very bored or more apathetic with this one, just because it just didn't catch my attention as much.
Yeah.
Um, so that would really be my biggest gripes with this one. Just I feel like it was a step back from the first four, and that's yeah. I don't really have much more to say about that one. Um,
I don't think I do
and
either necessarily. I think you hit it pretty well.
and I and I'm since I'm already on this track, I'll just go ahead and continue on it, and then we'll kind of get into some things that we liked. But I, this is why um, I feel like going into episode 6, I feel like episode 6 had the same problem
Hmm.
where it took which the Lotus Hotel and Casino scene in the books is not it's not the most exciting. It's not meant to be the most exciting. It's meant to be more of the fact that when they're on their quest, they experience different kinds of trials, and whereas the water park thing is more of a we have to physically use our powers to escape, whereas the Lotus Hotel and Casino is more we have to use our wits to
Yeah.
understand that hey, the longer we're in here, the more time passes quicker. And um, but I'm gonna maybe have a hot take here, and I'm gonna say that I think the movie did the Lotus Hotel and Casino better than the show did.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Um, Not in the aspect of like obviously the movie is aged up to where like in the movie they're like gambling and you know at the
Yeah.
casino tables, which 12-year-olds are not gonna do, but like not that. But I think the aesthetic of the casino, the fact that the characters are not supposed to know when they're in there that time is passing uh quicker outside. There's what happens in the book is that um and the same thing in the movie is that Percy starts to realize that there are things odd about the people and the different things inside the casino, like a guy that's wearing a shirt from the 70s or something, and his haircut and
Yeah.
the way he's dressed is all 70s vibe, and he recognizes that from I think he said like his mom's old school pictures or something, and and then he starts to talk with the guy and he realizes that like the guy thinks the current president is still like FDR, not FDR, somebody. It's somebody that was you know Lyndon B. Johnson, somebody that was president back in that time frame, and he's like, you know, and so the point is that Percy finds that out and realizes it that like, hey, some of these people have been in here and they don't know that all this time has passed. And
Mhm.
so in the movie, they do a good job of that because essentially the same thing happens, except in the movie, basically Poseidon speaks to Percy in his mind and tells him like, "Hey, quit eating the flowers. They're making you dull your senses. They're making you want to stay in this place." But I still think they capture the aspect of the ignorance when they go in. They don't realize what situation they're going into. Whereas
Yeah.
in the show, they realize pretty quickly, like, "Hey, we can't stay in here long because time passes quicker." And then you have kind of the weird uh, sort of side plot with Grover and the other satyr that
Yeah.
doesn't happen to my recollection in the book at all.
It doesn't.
And it's not that they can't add extra things in there. It's just that it seems kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Um, so I just feel like the execution in the movie I feel like was better in this sequence. They do a better job of that. Um, and I don't necessarily have a big problem with Hermes showing up, even though I know he's not there in the book.
Mhm.
Um, because we understand from the and I'm trying to remember. Do you remember in the book? And I read the book like a couple weeks ago, and I could not remember to save my life when they leave the casino, how they get from Vegas to um, Santa Monica Beach. Um, because I don't remember. I don't think it was Hermes that helps them because Hermes helps
It
them in the Sea of
wasn't.
Monsters
Yeah,
a lot.
it wasn't him that helped him. Um,
And I'm having a blank spot on how they get from Las Vegas to the
I
beach in Santa Monica. Um,
To be honest, I am too, and I want to say that it might have been the three-phase taxi. Did they get, or was that in a different, I know that that happens
that
at some
in
point. That may have
in the
been in
Sea
a
of
different game,
Monsters.
though. That was Sea of Monsters,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know in the movie they steal a car and Grover drives them all the way, which is, fine, but when you're in your 20s, but
Yeah,
um I don't remember, but yeah, that's my main thing with this one is it was they kind of make the whole Lotus Hotel because they take away the mystery of it. They sort of lose the what makes it interesting. Because the characters kind of already know, hey, this place you can't stay in here long because it makes you um time pass slower. But I thought this one also suffered for being somewhat boring. And it's
yeah,
just because in the book, this is not the most exciting scene. You have to make the concept of time passing faster interesting, and they just don't. And so it just has them walking around in a hotel for 30 minutes, and it's like having these conversations, and it's like it's just not very interesting in my opinion. And I think the movie does a better job of making that a more interesting part in the story. Um,
I feel like you could feel the weight of the situation a little bit more in the movie.
yeah,
Like, and that had a lot to do with, like you were saying, with the aesthetic and a lot of the camera work and such, really gave you that sense of they genuinely have no idea that time is passing. But then, like you said, when in the show, it was almost like they knew before they even walked in, like, "Oh, we can't stay here long. Time passes faster in here." I don't think they necessarily said that, but they knew that something was weird about it before they even walked in, and or I guess maybe they thought, because since they added Hermes in there into the story, they thought that Hermes might try to keep him there or trick him or something. Um, but yeah,
yeah. There's some decent
which he
moments, like when
did
they're
end
sitting
up
down
doing that.
talking.
But
Yeah, there's some decent moments when they're sitting down talking with Hermes that's kinda somewhat interesting, but I just like execution-wise, it could have been handled and done a lot more exciting and a lot more interesting, and I just feel like it made for a
yeah,
pretty hard to watch episode because it just wasn't very, engaging. Like, even like,
yeah,
I feel like the one of the best sequences in the movie is that sequence. because it's the
Mhm.
one that feels very much similar to the book. I said obviously, other than the fact that the characters are older, they're gambling and they're doing all that stuff, but it seems
Right.
to capture the essence of when they go in there, sort of the stakes of it, and um,
Yeah.
so
It's really
that's where I'm
memorable.
at. I do like that the whole Santa Monica Beach thing. He shows up and meets the same woman there that he met in the river in St. Louis, and
Yeah.
now he knows that he has to go to the underworld and everything. She gives him
Mhm.
4 pearls, which is interesting.
I noticed
Um,
that, yeah.
I assume what they're going to do with that is they're just going to have them all leave together, or maybe he loses one of them or something like that. And uh, but like in the books, obviously, I think it's Grover that stays behind, isn't it?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
which is how it happens in the
Which they
movie
did
as well.
accurately in the movie as well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they make sort of a weird love thing with him and Persephone in the movie, which
Yeah.
is kind of
It's so
awkward. But
strange.
um,
They
I
could
lo-
afford to do that because the actors were all older.
well, I was gonna say I do like oh my goodness, my mind's blanking. She played Ahsoka. My mind's blanking on her name. My
Ashley
goodness.
Eckstein? Are you talking about
No,
Claudia
live
Ahsoka
action.
or
Sorry.
Rosario Dawson?
Yeah, Rosario Dawson. So she plays Persephone in the movie, which is actually,
Yes, that's right, yeah.
I'm a fan of her as an actress, uh, but yeah, it's still a very weird
It was very strange.
sequence.
And to
But yeah,
answer right quick, just to answer your question about how they got to Santa Monica, I had to look it up because it was gonna bother me. But in the book, they do find a taxi and they use their unlimited Lotus Casino cards that
that's
they
right.
got, and
That's right.
they use those credits to get them to Santa Monica Beach.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes
That's how
sense
that
now.
happens.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I just these 2 episodes I feel like suffered from some of the same stuff. I do appreciate that they stick to the plot of the book. Like at
Mhm.
the end of the 5th episode, Ares gives Percy the backpack that has the lightning bolt in it, just like in the book.
Yeah.
Percy doesn't know he's being given the lightning bolt. They go to Vegas in the trailer with the animals, which happens in the book, and so I like the fact that the show is sticking to the plot of the book. I just wish the execution were better in certain instances, especially in these last 2 episodes,
Yeah.
to make it more engaging and really capitalize on some really great moments from the book. Um,
And
but
like you
yeah,
said, we
that's
don't necessarily mind the adding sequences that aren't present in the book, but
sure.
they need to be at least semi-necessary or like or at
Yeah,
least have some kind of substance to it. And some of those sequences were lacking a little bit, like we've said.
yeah. But hey, I'm still interested to see what they do with the last couple episodes. I'm really curious
Yeah.
to see how they make the underworld look, which is gonna I hope they do a good job of making it visually interesting because I thought the way they did it in the movie was pretty good. I liked
Mhm.
the essence of it for the most part. I hope they still include Cerberus, the 3-headed dog. I hope that's something that happens in the show.
I think they do. I saw
Um,
at the end of every episode, they get to give a little sneak peek to the next one,
yeah,
and there was a little clip of that in episode 6 at the end of episode 6. They did. We at least know that they did include the three-headed dog, so that'll be
and
good.
I'll be interested to see how Hades is as well. So
Yeah,
um, that's a couple of big reveals coming up. I think in the next couple episodes, that'll be interesting to see how they do that. So I'm excited to see what they do. I hope they go back to more of the quality of the first 4 episodes with these
yeah,
next 2, in my opinion. Obviously, some people watching are going to disagree with that, but yeah, I think that's kind of where our thoughts are on these 2 episodes. And yeah, give us your comments below. Let us know what you thought about it, and we'll talk about it.